All right, let's see if this works. All right, we're in business. Day 232. Today we got a subto deal, which means that you're buying the property subject to the existing financing. So you'll be taking over the payments on the property subject to. So 32113 Ave North in Texas City, Texas 77590. $15,000 to the seller, $5,000 to the agent, $5 to the assignment fee. $15,000 to the seller, and that's essentially $10,000 for the assignment and the commissions. Mortgage balance 177,678.29, 177,678.29. Interest rate 5.75, 5.75. Let me put this over here so you guys can see everything too as well. I'm plugging in this. Closing total entry fee $25,000. Escrow balance 1884.43. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1757 square feet. ARV $217,000. Yeah, I'll just put $217 right now. Okay. No repairs. Average rent $1,800 a month. Want to close by first. Okay. All right. That's a pretty low entry fee. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. So the total PITI is 1672.94 equals 1672.94. I'm come to this property tax line, and now I'm subtract the subto principal and subtract the interest, and that's how I back into what my total monthly payment is. This is where I don't over engineer how much I need to worry about getting an exact payment, getting an exact start date. Because if I know what the total payment is that's been disclosed to me, then I just take my 1672.94, which is the disclosed PITI, I subtract the payment portions, and that gives me the total property tax number and then also the insurance number. Now, typically, I will add at least another $30 because that insurance estimate within the escrow amount is probably related to a primary residence property and not a rental property. And usually rental properties cost a little bit more. So don't forget about that when you're underwriting your deals. Okay, so now that I got these up and running, let's go and take a quick look at the property. So this is the property in Texas City. Relatively turnkey because this looks pretty new for the most part. You might want to paint the place a little bit, but even the paint looks pretty good in the photo. So I might just do about half the square footage. So 1757. I'm gonna do half the square footage for painting. So I'm gonna come to my rehab spreadsheet and just DM me your email on Instagram at investwithkenthe if you do want a copy of this. I'm very fortunate being given these spreadsheets by other people, and I kind of just modified it based on what has worked for me. Obviously, if you have your own market and you know your own contractor prices, you might not be painting for $3 a square foot. You might be $4, you might be $2, right? So just update it appropriately for your own market. So I just took the 1757 square feet divided by 2 because I only assumed that I need to paint like half the house, because just in case these photos are photoshopped, you don't ever want to assume there's no rehab at all. And this is in a very, very bad flood area. So you see where it says 8. So I just went to Redfin and I just clicked on a map. And when you click on the map, you click on the flood. This is in a very much coastal area where, you remember Houston, they flooded a lot. So personally, I wouldn't invest there because I don't know what's happening with insurance premiums, but I know it's getting out of control. So I might even go out with the $50 for insurance just to kind of hedge against that a little bit. Okay. Now for my rent, now what we're going to do is get the county. Now, the reason we want to get the county is so that we can look up the small area FMR so that we can understand what our rent ceiling is. What's the email to request a sheet? You can just DM me your email on Instagram, Barrett, and then you can, my teammate Pia, she'll log in about 4 hours from now, and she always sends a template out to people. So she'll send it over to you. All right. So once you Google HUD FMR and you click on Access's small area FMRs, you want to come in here and now look up FY 2024 FMRs, and you're going to get Texas. And this is in Galveston County, which we just saw. And now you want to look up by zip code 77590. 77590. And you're going to see that the rent ceiling here by zip code, by bedroom count, the rent ceiling for a 3-bedroom is $1,560, and then the 4-bedroom is $2,000. I always write down these two numbers, $1,560 and $2,000. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure I understand, hey, if I turn this into a 4-bedroom, let's say I want to convert a garage, what is my incremental rents I can get from the place, right? Because someone might think it's not a deal for them, but if you look at the deal and you say, hey, is there a garage, or is there a basement, or is there a larger room? In here, is there a garage? There's a little garage right here that's attached. Maybe you can turn into an additional bedroom, and maybe you can create some cash flow based off of that opportunity, right? So that's gonna be something that you're gonna be wanting to pay attention to. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to look up the market rents. So when you go to affordablehousing.com, go to the owner section, go to the market. HUD does not always give you that full amount, and I'm going to get into that in just 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Market rent estimator. You're going to go in the address and you'll plug in the bedroom count. And the number you're going to care most about here is this number here, 1506, 1506. Because it essentially states that for 25 units within a 0.65 mile radius, 0.65 mile radius, the average rent for 25 units is 1506. I'll write down all these other numbers here because my partners already know how I underwrite deals. So this way they know that I've already done all the research for them, and then they can see whether or not this is a area in the county where the rents are lower or higher. Okay, now that I got the 3-bedroom rents, I want to get the 4-bedroom rents. Okay, you see how it's a 1666? That is the rent I want to go for if I were to get and turn this property into a 4-bedroom by, let's say, converting the garage or something like that. 1723 and 2371. 2371. Okay. Now, for our rental assumptions, right? The question was, does HUD always give you that full amount? And they do not. And here's why. Even though the rent ceiling here says 1560, usually that number includes some sort of utilities, etc. So you will always have to take the lower of the two when you compare the fair market rent of 1560 to the 1506. Now, you take the lower of the two because, let me bring this up. This is the HUD definition of the rent reasonableness test, okay? So this is the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook. If you go to section 2.2, you're going to see that this area, it says, in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. In determining comparability, the PHA must consider all following factors like location, quality, size, unit type. A single family home is going to be different than a condo, different than a multifamily apartment. Okay. Now, this is why we take the lower of the two, because just because, let's say this wasn't 1560, let's say this was $2,000, you would be making a huge mistake by assuming you can get the full 2,000 or $2,500 when the market rent is only 1506. And that's how people get caught with really bad deals. They think they're going to get a certain rent amount, but they forget about the rent reasonableness, because the housing authority isn't going to let you charge above market rent just because that person is a voucher holder, for the obvious reasons. Now, that is to say, there are some cities in the world, let's just take Boston as an example, where the standard of living is very high. And they might take this FMR in the city and actually go above higher than that by 10% or 20% or 30%. That does happen. So if you ever want to look at your housing authority and you just Google your city or your county's name, type followed by housing authority, and look up the 2024 payment standards, usually you will get those amounts as inclusive utilities. And when you get those amounts inclusive of utilities, let's say you don't provide or cover water, then you have to deduct the water allowance. Usually that's in the utility allowance schedule for the housing authority. Deduct that water amount from that payment standard, and now you get your maximum rent if you do not provide water as part of your rent. Very simple, but just DM me on Instagram if you guys ever have any questions. Happy to answer that. So let's walk this deal out, okay? 217, I got $3,000 rehab. That's relatively turnkey. My monthly income rent here is going to be $1,506 because that's lower of the two when you compare it. Okay, $1,506. 1506. There we go. All right, I already got my property taxes. I already got my insurance. I got 10% set aside for my maintenance or my war chest, which means that, hey, something will always break in your home. Whether that's replacing a roof in 10, 15 years from now, or your water heater goes out, or your condenser for your HVAC system needs repair, you got to have money in there set aside every single month, because in my opinion, that money does not belong to you. And if you don't set aside that money, all it takes is just one big fix, and all of a sudden, all the cash flow you would have made for the last year or 2 years is all gone down the drain. Okay. All right. I got 8% for property management right now. I plugged in right here, 0.08 for 8%. And I got 5% for vacancy, because guess what? People will always move out of your home. Doesn't matter if it's 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Obviously, you hope that's the low as possible. But when you turn that over, the unit's going to be vacant. So this money does not belong to you, right? Someone always has to eventually move out. Someone has to pass away eventually at some point, even if they live there at your home forever. So this becomes not a deal, because as a 3-bedroom, if you rent it out for $1,506, you'll be losing $536.32. And based off the entry fee that we calculate, with $15,000 to the seller, $10,000 made up of $5,000 assignment fee and $5,000 of commission to the realtor, I got 2% for my closing costs. I got my $3,000 for my renovations. That's a negative 20.8% return. Now let's say, well, what if I turn this into a 4-bedroom? What can we do there? Well, we saw that the fair market rents for $2 for a 4-bedroom is $2,000. So you might thought, okay, maybe I can get some cash flow over here. But if you apply the rent reasonableness test again, right, you would have had a maximum rent of $1,666. So let's put that in there. You could even round up $1,700 if you really wanted to, but you're probably gonna have to spend at least another 15 grand or 20 grand to convert a garage, probably to higher, but I'm just using rough numbers. But the whole point of that is, if you do convert the extra bedroom, if you do convert the extra bedroom into a 4th bedroom, and now you're able to get the rents for a 4-bed as a 1666, that's still you still have to take the lower of the 1666 compared to the 2000. So that still results in you losing $440. That's still a negative 11%. So in this scenario, if your exit strategy is only to do Section 8 long-term rental, then this is not a deal for you. Now, if you want to go and look up like, hey, can this property be a midterm rental? Sure. Go check out learning and how to do a midterm rental. If you want to do a co-living rental, I have a pretty good video on YouTube on how to do that. And then if you want to look at short-term rentals, I also have a pretty good video here. You just go to my YouTube channel. This video right here on how to analyze a short-term rental investment property in 1 hour, that was featured on Business Insider, so you guys can always watch that. Short-term rentals is not my passion. I have 2 of them, but it's not my passion. My passion is affordable housing, but it does not mean that you should not have the skill or the knowledge on how to analyze a deal properly. When you learn how to analyze a deal properly, now all of a sudden you will figure out how to take one property that everybody's only looking at from one angle, and now you're looking at 3, 4, 5 angles. So take a look at it. This is the video on short-term rentals. And if you guys ever want to learn more about pad splits, just let me know. We can always talk about how to underwrite those deals as well. All right. So that's it for today. Now, the whole goal of why I do this is so that you guys will copy what I do. Because guess what? The only way we're going to get better is if we get better together. And that's why I do this every single day. It's to show all of you that you guys can create your own content. And if you don't know where to start or how to start, what I'm simply telling you to do is just copy my homework. Take the same property I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet and just analyze it, record yourself, and put it on your own YouTube channel. Do not need to take any, you do not need to give me any credit at all. Because I remember how scared it was when I started. And I was so scared of losing money, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know who to even ask for a quote for a contractor bid. But that's why on the podcast, I brought on contractors from Alabama. I brought on contractors from Kansas City. I brought on contractors and property management companies in Detroit. I brought on contractors in Atlanta. So there's no guarantee that the contractor will perform, even though they might have performed in the past. But at least you know, when, especially if you're investing out of state, that you have the first step taken care of you, for you. And that means that you know who to reach out to get a quote for a bid for a project. And then you might go and get 2 more quotes, right? But at least you know where to start, and at least you know where the baseline is. So if you learn how to underwrite a deal, put it on your own YouTube channel, then when the time comes, when that deal comes across the table and slaps you across the face, how are you going to know it's a deal? If a partner asks you, why do you think this is a deal? You can tell them, hey, I know this is a deal because for the past 232 days, I've been looking at a deal every single day, and these were all not deals. You know what's a great skill to have? How to spot what's a loser or what's not a deal. Might that give you a little bit more confidence that you know what you're doing? Might that give your partners a little bit more confidence that you know what you're doing? Sometimes fear comes from not knowing what the options are and what we can do. But let this be the first step, and just copy my homework. And even if you're really, really shy, just put it on your own YouTube channel and just put as unlisted, and no one will even look at it. Now, just remember, no one's going to look at your YouTube channel anyways. Think about this as you building your resume, right? Would you ever apply to a job without a resume? Would you ever apply to a job without any job experience? You might if you were 16 years old. But otherwise, you want to have all of these track records and these items that you want to have in your place. So copy my homework, look at the same spreadsheet using the same property. Just DM me your email at investwithkenthe on Instagram. My teammate Pia will send the spreadsheet out to you guys today when she gets in about 4 hours. But that's it. Remember, guys, all it takes is 18 minutes a day. 18 minutes a day for 365 days, and you'll be better at analyzing deals than 95% of the country. So do it alongside with me. Tag me. I know how hard it is to build a following and grow a following. But just remember, you don't need that many people. I truly believe that you guys are all here because you guys want to make an impact with your capital, that you guys want to go with your money. And I know this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments. I'm just showing you guys what I do every single day. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being part of the affordable housing community. Thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Because without people like you guys, I would never have the home I grew up in. So for that, I'm really, really grateful. I hope you guys have an amazing Sunday. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. And just DM me anytime you guys have questions, all right? Hey, have an amazing Sunday, everybody. I'm going to go play with my daughter now. You probably heard her playing with all the toys really loudly. So I'm going to go hang out with her, and you all have an amazing day.